Alright you guys, this time, if you watched the last video, we did the valve springs in this Predator motor, and now it's time to finally get to the carb and intake aspect of the Stage 1 mod, and that would be this main jet, this pilot jet. You remove this restrictive air box, and you replace it with this direct rifled intake filter adapter and this cone filter, and then it's pretty much at stage 1. Stage 2, I believe, consists of replacing the carb itself and I think a cam and the rod. That may be stage 3. I'm not 100% sure on these things. I'm not trying to win drag races or anything like that. I just want these things to have a little more get up and go than they do stock, and plus I think the cone filter and everything looks a little cooler than this goofy air box sticking out of the side of it. So go ahead and start peeling this thing off of here. You need a 10 millimeter socket, a ratchet that's not a piece of shit. Bust that off. That loose. Once you got them loose, you can pretty much just thread them off by hand. One. There's 2. And then we're going to have to turn the fuel off. We're going to have to close the choke as well to get this off of here. The breather tube that goes to the valve cover, just simply wiggle that off. Plop that off the valve cover and then slide all of this. Oh man, what am I doing? I forgot about this breather hose for the gas tank up here. So go ahead and deal with this too. Put that off. And there it is. Try not to break it like I almost did. So now we have access to the carb. The fuel is off. We're going to need our 10 millimeter again to get this bottom screw on the carburetor float bowl here. And at this point I like to find myself in a little catch cup. A little something just to drain the gasoline into, because once you undo the carb float bowl, all the gas likes to run out of it. Make sure your fuel's shut off. Simply crack that. Just crack that drain out. Turn. Alright, fuel's starting to already leak. So go ahead and unscrew that. See the fuel starting to come out. Bam. Now we have access to our main jet. I don't know where that come from. Guess it had some blue ink on it somewhere. A lot of times from the factory they'll mark these boxes, or not boxes, but these motors as part of like the quality control process. Just say it's past inspection there. This is just a little cap that I'm using to hold the carburetor in place, because when you take all this stuff off, the whole carburetor and everything just slides right up and down. So I just put this on here just to hold everything in place while I do this main jet. Which the main jet is this guy here. Let's see if we can read the numbers on it. I got my glasses on. It says 92S. Not 100% sure, I can't really read it too well. But what you need to get this main jet out is simply a flathead screwdriver. So I'm going to look around the garage, see if I can find one of them, because for some reason all my tools just love to get up and run away. Alright, I have one sitting here. And let's see if we can show you the main jet. It won't focus in on it, but you get the idea. Up inside that hole there, your main jet goes. It's threaded here, and it's just got a little flathead you know, groove cut out of it, so you get a flathead in there and turn it counterclockwise and it should come right out. Let's see if we can pop this out. And you got to be careful. Sometimes what they call the emulsion tube will come out with it, so you don't want to drop that. If you drop that, you gotta clean it real good, if you can find it, that is. I like to run away. Alright, there it is. I finally got lock on it. Simply undo it. Alright, so as you can see, this was the emulsion tube that I'm talking about. Just set this right here for now, and this is the main jet that we are replacing with this one here. And there is a sizable difference. I mean, it's hard to tell with the naked eye, but this one is definitely the whole board through it is, you know, it's maybe micros bigger, but it is bigger, so that allows it to get more fuel. And whenever you are working on these engines and you add either or, like what I'm saying is, if you add, like let's say you put this cold air intake or whatever on it, you're going to have more air getting through your engine, obviously, and you got this exhaust header here, you're going to have more air going in and more air going out. You have to compensate the air going through it with fuel, otherwise the motor is going to run what they call lean, and lean is basically hot. If your bike or your motor is running lean, it's getting too much air, not enough fuel, and thus in turn creates heat and leads to just overall blowing your shit up. So anytime you add air or fuel, you got to compensate somehow with one or the other. So in the stage 1 kit, it consists of the air filter, the header, and the intake and all that good stuff, and they give you what they consider to be the proper jet for the application. Now when you get it in there, you just want to snug it. You don't have to beefcake it down. It's just a small brass, you know, jet. So I already got it in and it's good to go. At this point, I like to give it a quick blow job with some air, compressed air, to clean, you know, maybe the carb out. And then it's on to the pilot jet. So I'm going to go ahead and put this float bowl back on and we'll move on to the pilot jet, which is just as easy as the main jet. It's actually probably easier, so well, you guys will see. I'll be back. Alright, so I got the float bowl back on, and if you remember, it's always good to take a note when you take stuff apart to remember which way things are pointed. Like here's a drain screw right here. This was pointed, you know, I guess towards the back and left of the valve cover, so I just line it back up that way. For all I know, there's like a little baffle in here that works with the float, so it's good to put things back the way they came. So just snug this up, and that's that for the main jet. Pretty painless and simple. Again, it's just carburetor stuff, so you don't want to super tighten it. Now we're going to move on to this here pilot jet. I believe it's the pilot jet, but the pilot jet on these carburetors is up here. Here's the idle adjust screw, and underneath it is this little black thing that kind of looks like this here. This is the pilot jet, and our main goal is to get this off so we can gain access to this. So what you're going to need is, take a mental note of your throttle stop, where that's set at, and then you can go ahead and take a Phillips head screwdriver, back this guy out here. That will allow us full access to the little pilot jet. Set that aside so you don't lose it. Now you're going to need your flathead again. I'll try to do this for you guys with one hand on holding the camera, so you can see it. Just simply just kind of rock it a little bit, rock the back. My camera's just sucking at focusing right now for some reason, but you get the idea. Just kind of rock it back and forth and lift, kind of pry upwards a little bit. And if you're lucky, you can get it to pop right up just like that. And go ahead and set it aside. And that is your pilot jet for this application. And it's just simply pressure fit with an O-ring. So, and you can see that there's little flat parts on that. You want to line those flat parts up with, obviously, the flat part on the carburetor. Just plop that sucker back down in there. If you can get it with your thumb, awesome. I'm struggling with it, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off and see if I can get it to go in better. Yeah, it's hard to do with one hand, so I'll be back. Alright, so I had a little bit of a technical difficulty on the pilot jet here. Apparently they gave me the wrong one. My stock one that come out at the tip here is a little bit smaller of a diameter, and it's more of like a tapered bore. So no matter how hard I pushed or whatever, I could only get it to go down to about, I don't know, I'd say about maybe there, which ain't gonna work. So for now I got the stock pilot jet in it, but I got the bigger main jet in it, so it shouldn't really affect much of its running performance. And I can always, you've seen how simple that is to change. It just, like I said, you take a flathead screwdriver, pop it out, and that's all there is to that. So I'm kind of bummed that I got the wrong one, but hey, there's millions and millions of these little pilot jets and things, so the odds of me getting the first one right off the bat are slim to none. And I don't think when I was at the parts counter, the guy specified if he asked me if it was for the Hemi or not, but I got the right valve springs, so that's good. At least I got those. And as far as I know, the right main jet. So we got that installed. Next thing is the new air cleaner and the adapter. So that's simple enough. This adapter here, picked it up for $16.99. Comes with this little bracket here. You know what this little bracket does is it holds down the choke lever, which, as you can see, it just pops right off. The stock air box is what actually holds all this stuff together and sandwiches it all on there. So when you take that off, you got to come up with some way to hold the choke lever down. So that would be this little tab here. And I think they mount it like that just to conserve space, because it actually needs to be loosened and flipped around, which I'm going to do right now. Loosen that, flip this guy around like that, one-handed, one hand, friggin' pro, holding the camera. Alright, so you got that pretty much the way it needs to be. Go ahead and slip it on there, if you can see what you're doing, which I'm having trouble. See what I'm doing. Let me put this guy up here. And that's all there is to doing the air intake. And you take your stock Well, I think you can use the stock bolts I did on the other Predator. This one might be different. No, the stock ones will work. Then you take just your stock bolts and thread them back on. I just like to get them hand tight at first. Make sure everything's seated nice. Won't worry about tightening this up once we get everything else locked down. We'll take our 10 mil again. Set this ratchet on tighten mode. Again, one-handed. Okay. This ratchet sucks. Jeez. Alright, there we go, finally. So just go ahead and snug that up too. Again, it doesn't need to be like power torqued on there. You don't need to put a breaker bar or nothing on it. You just need to snug it all up. And then you set this where it needs to go, and from back there, tighten that set screw. And then from there, it's onto the awesome cone filter. So we'll be back. Alright, cool. So we got our choke lever, or choke hold down lever tightened up. Choke still works just as it's supposed to. Closed, open, good to go there. Might as well start refilling the carburetor with fuel right now. And we got our air filter adapter installed. Now let's go ahead and plop this guy on. Comes nice, wrapped nice plastic. Now you're supposed to oil these with like K&N air filter oil, which I don't have any at the moment, but my buddy Nick has some at his house, so I just simply got to go over there and oil this thing down. And you see it just slips right on there like that and looks awesome. So yeah, that just about wraps it up, other than for the pilot jet, which they gave me the wrong one. This is the end of the stage 1 Predator mod, and at this point I've done the 18-pound valve springs, header, which I actually made this one, saved me some money, main jet, and should be the pilot jet, and the air filter adapter kit. So, oh, and the governor has been removed as well, so be able to get a little more oomph out of it. But now it is time to see if it runs, so I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, let's go ahead and see if this thing fires up for us. Choke on already. Stage 1 done. It seems a lot more responsive when you burp that throttle, so I don't know if the pilot jet is really making that big of a difference or not, but the main jet is, your pilot jet basically controls your idle circuit. Everything, let's say from quarter throttle beyond is more or less your main jet, so the pilot jet really shouldn't be a big deal for now, but definitely sounds a lot throatier with this the cone filter on it and the wide open header. I actually got me I got a hot dog muffler for it just to quiet it down a little bit. All I gotta do is find a piece of pipe threaded to weld on the end of that there. That way I can just screw it in and screw it off as I please, because sometimes I like the loud pipe, so Okay, that thing is stage 1'd out with the exception of the pilot jet, and I still need to get the billet flywheel for it. I was a little short on bread, so I passed on the billet flywheel for now. So as long as I'm not super hot rounding it, it should be all right. And I'm definitely gonna get it. I just need to set a little more change aside, and then from there, it's on to the cam and the billet rod, and that I believe would make it stage 3. I'm not 100% sure. And plus, I'd like to get a normal, instead of this butterfly style carburetor, like a flat slide, you know, like a slide bore carburetor. So something you'd see more on like a dirt bike, and probably be like a little Makuni or something. See if I can find something to work on, something to work like that. That way you get a little more adjustment out of them. You know, tune them a little better and get more performance out of them. So all I got to do now is put this back into this Murray Track 2 here. But before I do that, while the motor is out and it's nowhere near as heavy, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this back sprocket here. When I got all the stage 1 shit for that bike, for that motor there, I picked up this sprocket. It's a 60 tooth, and I don't even know what size that one is. That's like a 180 tooth or something. It's just something ridiculous. So when I put the Predator in it, you know, I was all geeked. I was like, man, I doubled the horsepower. This thing's gonna fly. It was a big letdown because of that big old dinner plate sprocket. So I went ahead and got another sprocket for it, and it's on from there. So thanks for watching the pilot jet, the main jet install. If you haven't seen the video on the rocker springs for the Hemi one, just search my videos, it's in there somewhere. And let me know what you guys think. Any questions or comments, feel free to let me know. As of now, this breather, I'm assuming that's just like a breather vent for the tank. I'm gonna run it, I'm gonna plug it, and I'm gonna run it. And if it starves for fuel, then I know I gotta come up with some kind of breather for it, because I think the breather might be in the cap, and this is just for like their goofy emissions. So I might be able to just plug that and call it good. But until then, until I figure it out, you know, it is what it is. But like I said, thanks for watching, and go out there and build you one of these things, because they're a freaking blast. Mini chopper was a fun project to build, and anytime I bust this thing out, people love it. And I scored this Track 2 here for cheap, stripped all the fenders and crap off it, and put the big 8 hanger bars on it, and going for the old school bobber look on this one. So it's almost there. So until next time, thanks for watching again. See ya.